Tonight's story is not about betrayal alone. It's about the moment when the truth slips out, quietly, casually, like it was nothing. Imagine sitting across from the person you trusted the most, the person you built your life around, and then, with one sentence, everything shatters. This is the story of a husband, a confession, and a night that changed everything. Title: Wife confessed she cheated on me. If you enjoy deep, emotional, real-life stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's begin. I, 32, am currently sitting in a rental apartment with nothing but a folding chair and a laptop, watching my wife, 31, lose her absolute mind on a doorbell camera feed. The woman I spent 7 years with is currently screaming in my empty driveway because she realized I didn't just leave, I took the entire foundation of her perfect life with me. It started 3 weeks ago. We were sitting at the dinner table. It was a Tuesday, just a normal, boring Tuesday. She was scrolling through her phone, and I was finishing some paperwork. She looked up, eyes a bit glassy, and said, "I need to tell you something because the guilt is eating me alive." I thought she'd scratched the car or spent too much on a credit card. Instead, she told me she'd been having an affair with a guy from her gym for 6 months. It didn't mean anything, she said. That was the first thing out her mouth. Then she followed it up with, "But I think I'm pregnant, and I'm pretty sure it's his." The world didn't stop. The clock on the wall kept ticking. I just looked at her. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just felt this cold, hard clarity wash over me. She started crying, but it wasn't the kind of crying you do when you're sorry for the person you hurt. It was the crying you do when you're scared of the consequences. "I want to make this work," she sobbed. "We can raise it as ours. He doesn't even want kids. He's a deadbeat. You're a good man. You're a stable man. We can just pretend this never happened." The entitlement of that statement was staggering. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was presenting a business proposal where I subsidize her mistake for the next 18 years. I told her I needed a few days to think. I told her I'd stay at a hotel to clear my head. She actually looked relieved. She kissed my cheek. I felt my skin crawl and told me she knew I'd make the right choice for our family. I didn't go to a hotel. I went to a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but a guy who specializes in high-asset divorces and family law. See, my wife thought she was the smart one because she handled the household stuff. What she forgot is that I'm a forensic accountant. I track money for a living, and I have been tracking more than just our savings lately. The twist? I already knew about the affair. I'd known for 2 months. I was just waiting for her to lie to my face so I could see if there was any shred of humanity left in her. There wasn't, but there was something else she didn't know. About a year ago, my grandfather passed away and left me a substantial inheritance. Under the laws of our state, inheritances are generally considered separate property, unless you commingle them. My wife had been nagging me for months to put that money into a joint investment account to build our future. I'd been stalling. 2 weeks before her confession, she'd gotten in my computer and initiated a transfer of $200,000 from my private inheritance account into our joint savings. She thought I hadn't noticed. She thought she'd secured her safety net before dropping the bomb. "I saw the transfer," I told my lawyer. "Did you authorize it?" he asked. "No." She forged my digital signature on the internal bank authorization form. My lawyer smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "That's not just a divorce issue. That's a felony." I spent those few days she thought I was grieving in a hotel room, working like a man possessed. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted a complete extraction. I called my brother, 35. He owns a moving company. I told him the situation. He didn't ask questions. He just asked when. I waited until Friday. My wife told me she was going to a spa day with her mother, 58, to de-stress from the emotional toll of her confession. Translation, she was going to plot with her mother on how to keep me in line. As soon as her car pulled out of the driveway, 2 moving trucks pulled in. I didn't take everything. I only took what was mine. The problem for her was that almost everything was mine. The furniture I'd paid for before we married, the electronics, the artwork I'd inherited. I even took the light bulbs. Why? Because I paid for the premium smart bulbs, and I felt like being petty. By 4 p.m., The house was a shell. I left her clothes, her vanity, and a single air mattress in the middle of the living room. Then came the legal part. I filed for divorce, citing adultery, and, more importantly, I filed a police report for the unauthorized transfer of funds. I called the bank's fraud department and flagged the $200,000. Since it was still sitting in our joint account and hadn't been moved again, they froze the entire account pending an investigation. I also called the landlord of our house. We were renting a high-end suburban home while we saved for a mansion. Both our names were on the lease, but I was the one who paid the $4,500 monthly rent. I told the landlord I was vacating immediately and paid the 2-month lease break fee. He didn't care as long as the check cleared. He sent the notice to vacate via email to both of us at 5 p.m. I was sitting in my new rental, watching the doorbell cam on my phone when she got home at 6 p.m. She walked into a dark, empty house. No lights, no furniture, no husband. She called me 30 times. I didn't answer. Then her mother started calling. Then her brother. I blocked them all. Around 8 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. It was her mother. "How dare you leave her like this? She's carrying a child. You're legally responsible for her well-being. You cannot just cut off the bank accounts. That money belongs to the family. If you don't come back and fix this, we are calling the police for abandonment." I replied with one thing: a PDF copy of the police report for the $200,000 bank fraud and a screenshot of the gym guy's Instagram profile, where he was currently posting pictures of a motorcycle he'd just bought with money from a friend. The silence was deafening for about 10 minutes. Then the phone exploded again. "You're going to ruin her life over a mistake?" her mother texted. "So she moved some money. She did it for your future. You're being vindictive. We will see you in court. You'll be paying alimony for the rest of your life." I laughed. They really didn't get it. In our state, if you can prove the spouse committed marital waste, like spending thousands on a lover and fraud, alimony becomes a very uphill battle for them, especially when a marriage is under 10 years. Monday morning, the real fun started. My wife showed up at my office. She was dressed in one of her best outfits, trying to look vulnerable. My assistant, who knows the whole story, didn't even let her pass the lobby. "I'm not leaving until I speak to him," she shouted. I walked out, not to talk to her, but to hand her a thick envelope. "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Is this the reconciliation agreement?" "No," I said. "It's a partition of property and a formal demand for the return of the $20,000 you spent on your boyfriend's motorcycle from our joint credit card over the last 3 months." Her face went pale. I can explain that." "Don't explain it to me. Explain it to the detective who's handling the fraud case. They'll be contacting you about the $200,000 transfer soon." The entitlement finally cracked, and the monster came out. "You think you're so smart?" she spat. "I'm pregnant. A judge is going to destroy you. I'll make sure you never see this kid. I'll tell everyone you were abusive. I'll take every penny you have left." "Actually," I said, leaning in, "I went to the doctor too. Remember that fertility check we did 2 years ago when we were trying? The one where I told you everything was fine?" I lied. "I've known I was sterile since I was 24. There's a 0% chance that baby is mine. And I have the medical records to prove I knew it the whole time." She froze. The lobby went silent. Even the receptionist stopped typing. So I continued, "Not only are you not getting alimony, but you're also not getting child support. You're going to be a single mom with a fraud charge, no house, and a boyfriend who clearly only likes you for the money you stole from me." She lunged at me. She actually tried to claw my face. Security grabbed her before she could touch me. As they were dragging her out, she was screaming that I had trapped her. The next 2 weeks were a barrage of dirty tricks. Her mother tried to file a restraining order against me, claiming I was a threat to the unborn grandchild. It was thrown out in 24 hours because they had 0 evidence. Then, her lawyer, some bottom-tier guy she hired with the last of her personal savings, tried to claim that the $200,000 transfer was a gift I had verbally promised her. My lawyer countered with the forensic evidence, showing the IP address used for the transfer was her laptop, logged in while I was at a documented business lunch 3 cities away. We also produced the forged signature document. The bank didn't play around. They reversed the transfer and closed the account. They also turned over their findings to the district attorney. But I wasn't done. I knew the boyfriend was the key. See, a guy who takes $20,000 for a motorcycle from a married woman isn't exactly a pillar of loyalty. I had a private investigator follow him. It took exactly 4 days to find out he was also seeing 2 other women from the same gym. He was a professional gym rat leech. I sent the photos of him with the other women to my wife's mother. I knew she couldn't keep her mouth shut. The resulting explosion was legendary. My wife confronted him. He told her he never loved her, that the baby was her problem, and then he blocked her. She was left with nothing. The final blow came during our first mandatory mediation session. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, wearing clothes that looked like they'd been picked up off the floor. Her lawyer tried to play the mercy card. My client is in a delicate state. We are willing to drop all claims to the inheritance if you provide a modest settlement of $50,000 and cover her legal fees. I looked at my lawyer. He nodded. We have a counteroffer, I said. You signed the divorce papers today. You admit, in writing, to the fraud and the adultery to avoid criminal prosecution. You waive all rights to alimony, now and forever. In exchange, I won't press charges with the DA, and I'll give you $5,000 just so you aren't homeless when the baby comes. She looked at me with so much hate, I thought she might burst a blood vessel. $5,000? That won't even cover 3 months of rent. Then I guess you should have thought about that before you bought a motorcycle for a guy who doesn't know your middle name, I said. She sat there for an hour, whispering with her lawyer. Her mother was in the hallway, pacing like a caged animal. She signed. She had no choice. The evidence for the fraud was a slam dunk. She was looking at actual jail time. As we walked out of the room, she stopped me. You're a monster, she whispered. You planned this. You let me believe we were okay, just so you could do this. No, I said. I let you believe you were getting away with it, so I could see who you really were. It turns out you're exactly who I feared you were. I didn't destroy your life. I just stopped carrying the weight of it. I watched her walk to the elevators with her mother, who was already complaining about how they were going to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. I went to a steakhouse. I ordered the most expensive ribeye on the menu. I ate it in peace. The house is back on the market. The $200,000 is back in my inheritance account. The $20,000 for the motorcycle, I'm suing the boyfriend in small claims court for it, just to keep the pressure on. I don't even care if I get it back. I just want him to have to show up to court every month. People ask me if I feel bad about the kid. I don't. It's not my kid. And honestly, with a mother like that and a father who's a gym leech, that kid was always going to have a hard road. At least now, I'm not the one paying for the ride. Justice isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's just empty rooms and a frozen bank account. But sitting here in my quiet apartment, I've never felt lighter. I guess the moral of the story is, if you're going to cheat on a forensic accountant, maybe don't use his own computer to steal his money. If you enjoyed seeing a cheater get exactly what they deserve, hit that subscribe button. Unlike my ex-wife's loyalty, my content is actually worth the investment.